Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz and today we're going to have a quick look at the top 5 best cards for cEDH from the new Bloomburrow set and its supplementary commander decks. As always, cards are in alphabetical order. Number 1. Into the Flot. This is a 1 mana instant that can either bounce an opponent's creature to their hand, or, if you gift any opponent a 1/1 tapped fish token, it can bounce any non-land permanent to an opponent's hand. This is incredibly good because now you have a 1 mana soft removal spell that can target literally anything, with a very negligible drawback of giving an opponent a 1/1 tapped fish token. In fact, this is so good that TNK players, myself included, are now opting for this over Cyclonic Rift, because casting an overloaded Cyclonic Rift is so rare that it hardly is a reason to play it anymore. Number 2. Lily Splash Mentor. This 4 mana 4/4 frog can be used to flicker Dockside Extortionist for infinite mana as long as Dockside makes 4 or more treasures. This card is obviously worse than Emil, but for Timur decks it could be a better option over Sabertooth, because although you can only activate the ability in sorcery speed, you don't have to constantly recast Dockside like you do with Sabertooth, meaning that you don't feed Rhystic Study and are less vulnerable to interaction. Number 3. Mockingbird. This 1+X mana bird can enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield as long as its casting cost is less than or equal to the mana you spent to cast Mockingbird. So essentially it's a clone that scales with the game, and for everything equal or less than 2 mana, this is a straight up upgrade to Phantasmal Image. You can copy a turn 1 Esper Sentinel or Ragavan for only 1 mana, and yours will be even better than your opponent's, because Mockingbird will keep its flying ability even if it copies a creature. So you get a 1/1 flying Esper Sentinel that draws cards and is an evasive attacker to trigger your Tymna. What a great card. Number 4. Polywalk Prodigy. This 2 mana 1/3 frog has Evolve and reads: whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell with mana value less than Polywalk's power, you draw a card. So not only does this immediately draw from all 0 mana spells your opponents cast, but if you sequence it correctly and are able to deploy 1 or 2 more creatures afterwards, like for example Tymna and later Crown, the frog will grow and now also draw from 1 mana spells or even 2 mana spells. This also works with other commanders of course, like Urza, because first Urza triggers it by having a higher toughness, making the frog a 2/4, and then the construct will trigger it as long as its power is 3 or higher, making the frog a 3/5 that will draw cards from around half the spells all of your opponents have in their decks. Essentially what we have here is a build your own Mystic Remora that gets better and better the longer the game goes, and to top it off, its high toughness makes it somewhat resistant to Orcish Bowmasters. Number 5. Valy Flot Caller. This 3 mana otter is the newest addition in a line of spells that allow you to cast things at instant speed, but what makes this so good over other options is that it has flash itself and therefore compares very well to Born Upon a Wind, both being able to take your opponents by surprise without having any significant downsides. Yes, it's a bit more expensive than Born and specifies only non-creature spells, but in cEDH that's mostly irrelevant. The upside it has is that it's harder to counter and sticks around if you want to cast it earlier or push for another win attempt at a later point. Especially Grixis Nautilus like Roxai want to play this card because of how well it functions with Necropotence and other payoffs, but I think it will also see a lot of play in other decks. An additional neat interaction this otter enables is that it untaps and pumps your otters, rats, frogs and birds anytime you cast a non-creature spell, which means that it can generate a ton of mana if you equip it with Paradise Mantle, and that also works with Birds of Paradise. And yep, that's it for this standard legal yet incredibly pushed set. I personally think this could be the strongest standard legal set of the year with all these absolute bangers, but what do you think of Bloomburrow overall? And if you think I missed something, please let me know in the comments section below. As always, thanks for watching my videos, make sure to subscribe and auf Wiedersehen.